Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. My name is Ash, and I am here with another review roundup video. If you've not watched one of these before, I basically talk about 4 games I've been playing recently across a variety of different platforms usually. All depends what I've been sent to review or just what I've been playing, and I put them all into one video. Now, I'm going to jump straight into the games. First up is Food Truck Simulator. Now, I played this on Xbox. It released on the 16th of January 2024, and it's published on Xbox by Ultimate Games, who will kind of send me a copy. Now, this is on sale right now on Xbox, only for a few more days. It's usually £16.74p. It's currently £10.04. So it's a very good sale on at the moment. It originally came out a couple of years ago on PC. The developer is Drago Entertainment. And if you haven't gathered, you basically manage a food truck. Now, I've had hit and misses with simulator games over the years. Sometimes they're really good. Sometimes they are like bad, but so bad they're hilarious. And sometimes they're just terrible, and sometimes they're really good. And this one isn't bad. Now, one thing I like about this game is you basically get this food truck, and there is a storyline to it. Your dad used to run this food truck for years and years, and he's unfortunately passed away, and it's basically come to you, and you're taking over the business. Now, you get this food truck and you can improve it. You can stick awesome things on the side of it. You can like do it all up, pimp it out with banners and all sorts of stuff as you progress. But you have to actually drive around the area and find places to sort of drop things off. So you have to drive about, park up, and like find places to sell from and stuff like that. Now, the cooking isn't that bad either. I think it works quite well. Some of the smaller items are a little bit awkward to grab, especially with a controller. I definitely feel like on a mouse and keyboard, this would be a much quicker game. But you can make a whole host of different recipes. You also have your like inventory management. You've got to order more produce in and stuff like that. There's a lot of improvement to be had, so you can upgrade your equipment in your van and your van and stuff like that. The story isn't super long, it's only a handful of hours, but there is a quite long tutorial at the beginning that really shows you how to do everything. Maybe a bit long for some people, especially people who are used to these sort of simulator games, like using the computer for like stuff like that and figuring out how to go around and everything. But all in all, it's not bad. Graphically, I've seen a lot worse simulator games. The city is rather large, like the environment and everything. Plenty of detail. I wouldn't say it's like next gen mind blowing or anything like that, but like I say, it does the job for a simulator where you're driving a food truck round, and it's one of the better ones I've played recently. Now, it is single player only, which you expect for a simulator game. However, there's a lot to keep you playing in this one. Like I say, you get to create your own recipes. There's like events to do, all different areas across the city you can interact with and visit. The city is like active, so there's people walking about, and it's different in the day and in the night, and there's cars all over the place and stuff like that. Actually, good, and for £10.04 right now, you can't go wrong. Now you can also pick this up in a bundle with Gas Station Simulator. Obviously, when it's at sale, it's cheaper to buy it separately, but when it's at full price, you can buy it in that bundle with Gas Station Simulator for 29.24. But right now they're both on sale for 10.49. So at the moment, I'd recommend picking them up separately. But all in all, a fun little sort of simulator game, a fair few hours worth of content, a little glitchy and buggy at times, and a little frustrating with trying to pick small things up. But like I say, this has been ported from a PC. It is built more for PC, but I don't think they've done a bad job with the port. Okay, next up is Time Rift. Now, this came out early 2022, and then it was ported to console by Dolores Entertainment later in 2022, and I was looking to send a copy. Huge thanks for that. Priced at $8.39 on Xbox, playable on both Xbox One and Xbox Series X and S. And this is a sort of fast-paced action puzzle game. And you play as this like hacker who's changed his ways. He now tests security systems against like threats and stuff like that. However, in this one, you basically go into this system and you control this node. Now, the aim of the game is to get to the end of each area, but your node can only sort of face in one direction unless you hit certain pads to change your direction. And while you're sort of navigating these little maze like areas, there's a whole host of traps, lasers, killer walls that try to stop you. So you've got to keep moving because at some points the firewall will move across the screen and basically follow along after you, which makes it deadly. You do luckily have a rewind feature. And one cool thing about the rewind feature is you have to use it to progress at times because, like, things that you've changed, you'll rewind your position, but those things will stay changed. So you kind of need to sort of like sometimes die to progress and stuff like that. Like, oh, you have to flick one switch, but then teleport, like time warp back a few steps. So now that doorway's open and stuff like that. Now you have like a little thing you can shoot, but you can only shoot in the direction you're facing, which makes it awkward because you have to move around and try and change your direction. There's also like other things you have to use, like bombs and gates and stuff like that, to sort of make your way through. Now it does have flexible difficulty. I can't even pronounce that. Flexible difficulty. So you can have a slow down mode, or you can make everything like stationary, depending on your sort of skill level. The option is there. But it does take a little bit of time and effort to get to it. It's pretty cool. It looks like proper like old school that you would think computers look like, synthwavy-esque. Do you know what I mean? Looks nice, sounds nice, got good sounds. Nice little puzzle game, to be fair. Feels good to play. A cool story that's sort of explained along the way and stuff like that. You've got to get into it though. The more you get into it, the better it gets. And yeah, it's really well done. The puzzles are well implemented and stuff like that. Really cool, nice voice acting in there as well. Fantastic. Definitely check this one out for a challenging sort of puzzle game. Okay, next up we have One More Dungeon 2. Now, this is a dungeon crawling roguelite in which you play as this adventure. You've basically gone into this foreign land and you wake up and you've been captured by giant sentient snails. Now, they say you can survive, they'll not kill you if you go into their dungeons and basically kill the monster that lurks there. So off you go into these dungeons to basically work your way through all manners of trials to basically get your freedom. Now, I do like this game. It has a lot of funniness to it. Like, it doesn't take itself too seriously with the plot and stuff like that. I like that it's bright and colourful. The graphics, they're not super like detailed in terms of like polys or anything like that, but the low poly like chunkiness of it has a really nice charm. That while this is a modern game, it still like has old school roots. Now you'll work your way through 5 different sort of environments, each of them procedurally generated. So every time you play it, it's never going to be quite the same. Now, there's all sorts of different enemies you'll fight through these dungeons. Now, each area has its own types of enemies. There's also lots of sort of environmental hazards from like swinging axes to lasers and stuff like that you have to avoid. Now, one thing I like is there's a whole host of weapons you can use. There's melee weapons, magic sort of like staffs and stuff like that. And you'll collect these runes which you can then use to like use on permanent unlocks and like upgrades. So while you'll die, you'll just keep going back in and eventually you'll get better and better and better. Now, it does have a hub world, which is basically the Snail's Fortress Castle, which is nice to explore and look around. There's all sorts you can do. There isn't a map or anything like that, so it can get a little like lost. I got lost many a time, unfortunately. But the core premise isn't bad. It will get a bit repetitive after a while. That's the nature of a roguelike, unfortunately. However, I like the sort of old school, the dungeon crawler aspect of it is quite nice. And there's also like bosses as well you'll come at the end of each of the five areas. Now, there is enough content here to warrant the trip through. I wish there was a bit more quickness to the upgrading. I feel like it's a bit slow paced with your permanent upgrades and everything like that. And the music is serviceable. It's not memorable. I couldn't like say there was a certain track I preferred or anything like that, but it does the job for what it is. Funny, interesting, old school feel with like very different biomes as well. Each of the five areas do have their own very unique feel and distinction between them, which is nice. The sort of meta progression, everything like that, is cool. And there's also like puzzles as well to do in the hub world, which is nice. Now, it isn't perfect. Obviously, having like procedural generation in dungeons does lead to sometimes less interesting areas like dead ends and like empty areas and stuff like that. But it is what it is. It works, and that's all that matters to me. So on Xbox, it's priced at $14.99, playable on Xbox One and Xbox Series X and S, and it's brought to Xbox by publisher Ratalaika Games, who are kind enough to send me a copy. And the game is developed by Stately Snail, so that kind of explains why it was full of giant snails. But really fun, interesting little game. If you like your old school dungeon crawlers or you like roguelikes, definitely check this one out. Okay, and last up we have Stolen Realm. Now, this released onto Xbox on the 8th of March 2024 from developer and publisher Burst to Flame Games. And I was looking to get a copy sent, so huge thank you to them for that. Now, this is a simultaneous turn-based tactical dungeon crawling looter with action RPG elements. Yes, you heard that right. It's a lot going on where either solo or with friends you can control up to 6 heroes. You basically put a party together and you venture forth into these procedurally generated, low poly, high fantasy worlds. Now, while it is low poly, it looks great. The environments look really cool. There's awesome enemies. There's really cool different sort of classes you can play as, like heroes. There's different like biomes to play through, and they all look awesome as well. Really, really nice. I really enjoyed this one. Now, I like the combat. So every team take all their actions at once. So like if there's multiple of you playing, you'll all pick your actions, they'll play out, and then the other team will. And it kind of feels a little bit like Divinity Original Sin. I've never played that much, but I really enjoyed this one. And like they've done a really good job of it. And having this sort of 6 player aspect to it and the procedural generation means that it's always going to be sort of feeling pretty original every time you play. Now, there's a customizable class system as well. So you can create like old school RPG classes, or you can sort of make your own unique character because there's hundreds of different skills. So, like I say, you can have like a spell focused priest or something like that. You can just mix and match how you want to make it, and there's some really cool combinations. Now, in between the sort of fighting and the levels and stuff like that, there's different choices you have to make. There's side quests and stuff like that you'd find in RPGs normally. There's story events. You've got to gather resources. You've got shops and stuff like that. And you'll eventually get to a boss at the end of each of the sort of adventures. So you can go back and replay it and it'll play totally different. Now, you can also customize how the game plays. So there's 6 different difficulty levels from like more like story driven over like worrying about combat to quite hard. On top of that, there's also a hardcore mode with a permadeath. So if you die, you die. There's also a roguelike mode as well, and that's like a faster paced version of the game where you can mix and match builds that aren't possible in the normal campaign. Now, I didn't play a lot of the roguelike mode. I'm not a big roguelike fan, and I was too busy playing the main game. It's definitely better with other people, though. Having the sort of 6 players is really, really cool. So on Xbox, it's local or online multiplayer, according to the store, up to 6 players. There's tons of loot in this game as well. They said there's over 700 items as well, which is cool that you can use to sort of modify your characters. Over 300 skills with 10 different skill trees. So your character customization can be really, really editable and stuff like that. You can really customize it. But all in all, I thought it was really good. I think it's great. There was never a dull moment with like repetition with enemies or anything like that. There's hundreds of different enemy types, which is cool. So there's also have enemy modifications as well, so they'll all look slightly different, which is nice. I thought that was cool. There's a variety of different areas you'll come through on these dungeon crawling because of the proceduralness of it all, which is awesome. And I just like that you can mix it up and sort of choose how you want to play. Really, really good. Way better than I was expecting. I saw the pictures and I was like, will I like this or not? And in the end, I was honestly surprised. Like the combat is fluid and really fun to play and fast paced. It doesn't drag and take forever. The graphics, although low poly, just work. It looks really good. And all in all, a really cool game to play with friends. So you can buy this now for 16.74 on Xbox. It's also available on other platforms as well. And that's that for this review roundup, guys. Let me know in the comments down below which of the 4 games you preferred. My next review roundup won't all be Xbox games. It just happens that I had 4 that I was playing all at once, so I thought I'll do a video on them. Sometimes I'll do Switch, PC, PlayStation. All depends. It just depends what I'm currently playing that month. But there's so many games out there. There's a pile of games I'm working my way through right now. So expect a new review roundup and our daily review videos on the channel. Hit subscribe and check out our review playlist. But until next time, guys, thanks for watching.